Hello everyone, you're listening to Pro Bono Institute's Pro Bono Happy Hour. I'm David Lipscomb, Director of Strategic Communications for PBI, although now that we have 10 episodes behind us, you probably already know that. In any case, I want to welcome you to a very special edition of the Pro Bono Happy Hour. But before we get into things, we've got a little bit of housekeeping. The 2016 PBI Annual Conference is coming up and will be held in Washington, D.C. from March 23rd to 25th. So register online right away at www.probonoinst.org/conference. Now here's an important question. Where does the time go? That's a question you may ask yourself from time to time when looking at family photos or meeting up with old friends, or maybe when you're tracking hours for your pro bono program. Well, PBI's Law Firm Pro Bono Project has a brand new publication to help you figure out just that. Where Does the Time Go? Practice Tips for Pro Bono Timekeeping and Matter Management is now available in our Resource Clearinghouse. As I mentioned, it's a very special episode of the Pro Bono Happy Hour, so we have our very own Law Firm Pro Bono Project here to give you a little preview. They've got some great insights on how you can use this publication to enhance your pro bono program, and they give a peek behind the scenes of how this publication was put together. We hope you're comfortable wherever you may be, whether that's mid-commute, on your lunch break, or simply working at your desk, perhaps running timekeeping reports, and we hope you enjoy the conversation.
Hi everyone, we appreciate you joining us today on the Pro Bono Happy Hour. I'm Eva Richardson, and today I'll be joined by Rena Glazer.
Hi, I'm happy to be here for this special episode of our podcast. We are 2/3 of the Law Firm Pro Bono Project.
Yes, and we're going to be discussing today a new publication on pro bono timekeeping. But first off, we would like to take a moment to say goodbye to one of our hosts, Yvette Crenshaw. You'll be greatly missed here at PBI and on the Pro Bono Happy Hour.
Yeah, Yvette is amazing, and she's gone on to some new exciting endeavors, and she'll definitely be missed. But we thank her for all of her help in launching the Pro Bono Happy Hour, and thanks to you, our amazing listeners, the podcast is going great. And if you have thoughts or comments or wishes you'd like to send on to Yvette, please send them to us, and we will pass them along to her. And if you have any feedback about the podcast, please send it to us. We'd love your suggestions, praise, criticism, feedback, anything you have to offer, right?
Absolutely, yeah, that sounds great. And yes, like I said, today we're going to be discussing a new publication. It's called Where Does the Time Go? Practice Tips for Pro Bono Timekeeping and Matter Management. It's a new resource that we've prepared basically to help law firms strengthen their practices for pro bono timekeeping and matter management, and we're really excited to be able to chat about it today.
Really excited, although you may be listening and think, timekeeping, what a snooze. How did you come up with that topic? And I think if we step back, we wanted to share with you some of how we develop our research agenda here at the Pro Bono Institute and the Law Firm Pro Bono Project. And it really comes about, just to overgeneralize, one of two ways. Sometimes we like to push the agenda. We like to trend spot, whether it's an area of poverty law, an access to justice issue, an emerging legal issue, and really shine a spotlight and say, hey firms, this is a place where you should be looking to dedicate your pro bono resources. Or an area of infrastructure or pro bono practice governance that we think people need to be thinking about and may not be thinking about. So what comes to mind there, maybe, Eva, is our succession planning toolkit, right? Mm-hmm. Sort of like our own mortality.
Exactly.
No one likes to think about preparing our wills. It's just, right? It goes to the bottom of our to-do lists, but it's important.
Yes.
And same with organizational succession planning.
Right.
It's not something people necessarily like to think about and take time to plan for, but it's critical. And maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode.
Yes.
So that is an example of something that we pushed out there because we thought the community needed to think about.
Exactly.
And it warranted some attention. On the opposite end of the spectrum are topics where we, in our capacity as consultants, realized that over the course of a period of time, maybe a year, 18 months, 2 years, we've received a lot of inquiries about a certain topic. And we think, maybe if 1 or 2 or 3 people are struggling with this issue, a lot more people are. And we could work on developing some learning, some best practices, some off-the-shelf guidance that would at least provide people with a start, make things easier for people, again, issue spot, and speak to issues that people are struggling with. And I think that this came out of that rubric, where over the course of a year, 18 months, 2 years, during our travels and our meetings and our consultations, we were getting a lot of questions about timekeeping and how people could improve their structures, their processes, their procedures, why this all matters. And we thought, let's try and see if we could put something together that could help people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a few years in the making. We started probably, I think it was the summer of 2014, with our research process. And it's sort of an update on a 2006 paper that we published. And our hope was that through talking with firms, we might kind of identify some generally applicable tips and best practices that we could compile into some sort of resource for you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we really value here are best practices and having firms not reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Yes, people have to customize for their culture, their values, their institution, their communities, but there are common denominators out there, and it's so much easier when you have a framework to adapt and tweak than having to start from scratch. So we like to collect and synthesize and massage all of these products and ideas and then help you just start from a higher plane.
Exactly.
So it's a big part of our mandate and work.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. And then as far as our process for coming up with this paper goes, we interviewed a handful of firms, I think it was about 5 or 6, and talked to them about their pro bono timekeeping systems and just essentially picked their brains on what they do. I talked to them about what categories they use to classify pro bono work, what challenges they encounter, any advice they might have for others who are either starting out with a timekeeping system or trying to improve it in some way. And so once these interviews were finished, we just had a huge amount of information, and it was a bit challenging to kind of go through and pick out what parts were useful, what kind of trends we noticed, and it was just, that was probably the most time-consuming part of the whole process. But
yeah, I would say big shout out to the people that helped us. They were so generous with their time and their information, and that really is what makes sort of our work possible. So that was great. But this was very hard, technical, somewhat in the weeds information, and it really took us a long time to figure out how can we present it in a way that makes sense, that's accessible, that isn't overly wonky or intimidating, and that was a struggle. And it culminated in this publication.
Yes. We just tried to think about how we could sync it all together kind of in a cohesive way. And it was particularly challenging not being able to see these timekeeping systems because they were all phone interviews, and I was just trying to visualize it all and how they actually worked. But over the course of a few months, I feel like I kind of wrapped my head around it, and we digested what we had to work with, and we ended up with this publication, which hopefully can provide guidance to firms on their timekeeping systems. And in general, our goal was to create a resource that could be useful to any firm, no matter what the state of their system was in, whether someone was starting from scratch, which is probably unlikely, but or whether they were doing a total system overhaul and wanted to make some massive changes, or whether it was just small little tweaks here and there on what information you capture or whatever. But our goal was to keep it general enough that it could be used across a broad spectrum, and but also at the same time provide concrete tips and guidance. So that was the challenging aspect of it for us, I think.
I think that's a great overview of our goal and our process. And let me just add some context, because I think you could be listening and thinking, and I don't think we want to leave the impression that ours or time is why we do pro bono. Of course not. It is not why we work to advocate and promote legal services and access to justice. That is a higher value, and the work is about the work and serving clients in the best way possible and changing lives and improving communities. Hours and timekeeping, these are tools. These are tools that help us identify areas of improvement for pro bono programs, areas of potential and future growth for pro bono programs. Your law firm pro bono efforts are limited resources, and you have to make strategic decisions about how you want to spend your time, where you can have the greatest impact, where your attorneys and staff can feel the most fulfilled in spending their time, where they can leverage their expertise in the most meaningful way, where they can address systemic problems to work and improve for the greater good. Whatever the goals, whatever the values, these are tools to help us, diagnostic tools, improvement tools. And I think it's important to keep that in mind, because we don't want people to sort of get lost, sort of lose the forest in the trees, right? Or get so sort of in the weeds. And I think that people who labor in the trenches day after day in the pro bono community and working for justice, sometimes you do get sort of beaten down by the administration of it, right? The record keeping, the surveying, the metrics, the spreadsheets, the databases, the information polls, the report generation. We get that. We are too. But big picture, these are tools to help you make strategic decisions and reach your goals that you have set, and to help you diagnose weaknesses and where you have areas for improvement. And by thinking about, and we'll transition to this, but thinking about the information that you want to know that will help you, the outputs that you want will help you determine the inputs that you use in setting up your system, and all of this actually will make your life easier.
Exactly. That's the whole purpose, is to make things easier for you as you're kind of going through your day-to-day. Yeah, and we talk a lot about in the paper about why this timekeeping is important. We thought we should make the case for why this is important, and there's a ton of reasons, both internal for your firm and to help external entities as well who rely on that information that you can gather. So that's sort of how we started off the paper, was with a just kind of overview about making the case for pro bono timekeeping. And
yeah, there's so many times that people come to us and they say, we're so disappointed. Our pro bono performance isn't where we want it to be or should be. And it actually turns out, when you peel away the layers of the onion, their firm is doing so much more pro bono. They're just not capturing it. So, oh my gosh, you think you have more of a problem than you actually have, because you're not working from an evidence-based universe. You're just making assumptions. So the information really is critical, right? To really assessing the lay of the land. Yeah.
Definitely. And we talked about this a little bit, but one of the most important parts of the paper, I think, is where we kind of talk about coding and categorization and how better inputs lead to better outputs. And what I kind of gathered through talking with some of these firms was that there's so much that you can capture, and you don't have to capture everything, but you pick and choose what's right for you. And we provide a ton of guidance on that in this paper. We give a lot of examples of different pieces of information your system might track, such as whether it's a case for limited means or not, whether it's what type of representation is being provided, what's the substantive area of law. We provide a ton of stuff to work with for that, so I think it could be helpful as you're thinking through your pro bono timekeeping.
Yeah, and you could see how, at the end of any given year, wouldn't you like to be able to push a few buttons and say, X% of our pro bono efforts this year were immigration and asylum. X% were indigent criminal defense. X% was community economic development. X% was transactional related stuff. X% was housing.
Right.
That would be delightful. And
Right.
then to compare year after year over year, or to be able to break that down by office or practice group. And all of these analytics, again, tools.
Yes.
Tools to help you improve your pro bono performance.
Right, definitely. Just a few other kind of things we cover in the paper, some common kind of struggles or challenges that folks have emerged as we were interviewing firms. So we captured some of those and then tried to come up with some solutions to those challenges. So hopefully that would be helpful to you. And we also provide some general timekeeping tips throughout the paper, kind of interspersed. Those are just things that kind of popped out at us as we were doing our interviews. And
one thing that's great, I think, and I don't mind saying this, is the graphic design. Eva has really mastered this new talent, right, and skill. I don't know that you would say you had it before you came to work here, but you have honed it.
Yeah.
So I would hear this and think, oh my gosh, I'm not going to read 55 pages about coding. Snooze, I'm not like a stats major
Right.
or a math geek. But there's pictures, there's graphics. It's super accessible. And the whole document's, 11 pages,
yeah,
12
it's
pages.
about
It's
12 pages.
super accessible.
We tried to spice it up a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
So overall, our goal was basically to provide firms with a starting point for thinking about their timekeeping systems. It's not an easy thing to do, and I know firms the systems vary greatly, but our goal was just to provide you a tool that you could use to just kind of get thinking, and we hope that you will contact us as you start thinking for some more tailored advice, since this is just kind of the first layer of it all. But we encourage you to contact the Law Firm Pro Bono Project with questions specific to your firm. And you can access this new publication on our resource clearinghouse. It's where we house all of our publications, best practices, policies. Any of our materials on Law Firm Pro Bono are there. And you can access that at www.probonoinst.org. www.probonoinst.org/clearinghouse.
Well, maybe after we win the Powerball, we'll be .com. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
True. And members, law firms of the Law Firm Project can access all of our materials for free, and anyone else can access it for a small fee. So if you have questions about joining the Law Firm Project or about setting up a clearinghouse account, you can contact us at probono@probonoinst.org.
And I'll say, if that sounds intimidating and you're not a techie, which I would say I am not, and it is easy to use, there's an awesome tutorial that our beloved Yvette prepared. So I would
Yes.
say check that out. It is so user-friendly. And if you feel like, I don't want to teach myself, watch the tutorial and it will show you exactly what to do. Follow the steps. Super easy.
Yes, it's very easy. We hope you'll check it out.
In honor of Yvette, just do it.
Absolutely. Also, just a quick reminder that the 2016 PBI Annual Conference is coming up. We are super excited. It's only months away now, and it'll be held on March 23rd through the 25th at the Capitol Hilton in Washington, D.C. So we encourage you to register if you haven't already. We hope to see you there.
Yeah, I'd say particularly for listeners who are at firms with 50 lawyers or more, super targeted for you. In-house lawyers at corporate legal departments, please come. And public interest organizations, it's by invitation only. So if you'd like an invite, contact us and we'll pursue it more. And we'll say register by next week, January 20th, right? To get the best pricing available. Don't
miss
wait.
out. Yeah.
Who wants to pay more? Nobody. So register by the 20th and take advantage of the sweet discounts.
Thanks again to the Law Firm Project for that preview of their new publication, Where Does the Time Go? Practice Tips for Pro Bono Timekeeping and Matter Management. We have several people we want to thank for their help with this publication, and they are Scotty Brown, Rebecca Casabon, LaTanya Keith, Greg McConnell, Ron Tabak, and Pam Wanzel. As Eva mentioned, you can visit our clearinghouse by going to www.probonoinst.org/clearinghouse. Most publications are available for purchase unless your firm is a member of the Law Firm Project, in which case they're free. And you also get access to the members only section. To listen to more podcasts in this series or learn about additional pro bono resources, visit www.probonoinst.org/podcast. If you're interested in having your firm featured on the Pro Bono Happy Hour, please email us at probono@probonoinst.org. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Pro Bono Happy Hour.